In all my years playing shooters, I've come to realize one thing. Not everyone loves to run and gun, but you gotta admit, there's a little bit of pleasure that comes with hitting and quitting. That's basically the raw term that describes the negotiator's dilemma. It's a ticking time bomb. It lets you kill 2, 3, 4, or 5 birds with one stone. It's the ultimate showstopper, the rogue stomper, the solo player's best friend. Negotiators is like having a second hand, or 3 hands, or 4th hand, 5 hands. It's basically like a shadow clone jutsu, and that is why it's my all-time favorite set piece in Division 2 after the tragedy of the Striker set. So, what are some basic things that you need to know about negotiators before we get into this build? Because it's very important that you understand this gear set. Negotiators is a crit component. Every build that comes from this set has a base crit chance and a base crit damage, so it's easier to utilize it in your crit builds or your status builds because you have something to build on. Number 2. Negotiators can be utilized in PvP and PvE with a simple change. In PvP, it's better to use the backpack because of that 100% damage spread, and in PvE, it's better to add the chest piece because the chest piece increases the number of marks you can get, and because you have more enemies in PvE, that will help you a lot. So that is one of the things that you want to keep in mind. Now, number 3, this is something that is not just for negotiators, but it is very important in every critical builds out there. Never reach 60% critical chance. Why is this? Well, 60% is the maximum critical chance that you can get in the game, but there is a current bug that lowers your critical chance once you go over 60%. Basically, once you get to 61, it automatically turns into 59. Once you get to 65, it turns into 55. An easy way to spot this is to pay attention to the red and blue bar that you see on the right side of your reticle whenever you fire. That's where your critical counter is. So, with the basics out of the way, let's get to the build. I am using a 4-piece with SMG and LMG. The logic behind the weapon choice is due to 2 reasons. Negotiators proc based on critical hits, and SMGs are the one weapon in the game that already comes with a high base critical chance. This also means that you can stack up for crit damage and still be able to build up on the negotiator's mark. Another great reason for Vector is because the mark on negotiators lasts for 20 seconds, and within that time, you can empty your magazine, reload up to 5 to 6 times, and still keep burning your target. The LMG choice is to overpower your opponent. There is nothing more scarier than trying to run away and heal yourself and you realize that you're still taking damage from an enemy that you ran away from like few seconds ago. A higher magazine count lets you remain relentless as you burn through other waves of enemies while that rogue agent is running away. Now, let's get into the combat effectiveness and other forms of synergy that comes with Negotiator's Dilemma. I call this part the Hydra. It's a snake with many heads, and the next bite is stronger than the last one because that is how the 4th component of this works. You tag a high level enemy, then you deal damage to the lower level enemies. Now you're wondering, why do I have to do that? Well, the reason for this is because high level targets have different forms of resistance that stops you from dealing the most damage possible. You will notice this when you hit a boss for 2 million damage, but then with the same build, you hit a red NPC for 10 million damage. Well, it's because they have different forms of defenses such as shields, armor, even healing mechanisms within their suits. Hitting that low level enemy will help you deal with a problematic boss and still bypass some of their defenses like their riot shields that is blocking your direct attack. The reverse is also useful. You can tag several low level enemies, then use the high level one to kill them all in one swoop. So for this, I will suggest that you use the chest piece for that extra mark. So I'm hoping that you guys are following and you're seeing the importance of understanding the synergy and how these things work. This is also why I have Obliterate on my chest piece and Optimist on my SMG. Obliterate increases weapon damage every time you crit, and Optimist increases weapon damage based on the magazine count. The higher the RPM, it means that you will be able to burn through the magazine really quickly and reach that optimal or maximum damage potential. The benefit from this is that combination of both of them, and this is one of the beautiful and sweet things about this build. And speaking of returns, Negotiator's Dilemma also synergizes well with Armor on Kill. With the 4th piece intact, you can kill two birds with one stone, and this way you will be getting armor from unintended sources by just melting multiple enemies. This is also why I paired it up with a gunner specialization, and each time an enemy dies, you get extra armor, and you also build up and get up to 40% bonus crit damage. And with my Coyote's mask, I'm also getting an additional 25% crit damage with that SMG range. The Negotiator's dilemma is a Hydra, a snake with many heads. It's perfect for those of you who like to run solo in PvP and PvE. I know it's a crazy thing when you get jumped in the DZ by a group of 4 guys just trying to stomp on that solo person, and sometimes in PvE, you just want to be able to hit enemies behind you and hit enemies in front of you. You just have to understand how to use this. I hope this helps. I'll see you in the next one.